Your soulmate just wrote you a secret love letter. It disappears in 5 minutes. My beloved child, pause for one quiet moment. Something gentle has been moving toward you for longer than you realize, and today it has finally found its way to this very moment. Don't skip, because what you are about to hear unfolds one heartbeat at a time, and something important is waiting for you. Imagine that somewhere beyond all ordinary conversations, beyond every message that was typed and erased, beyond every feeling that remained hidden, a single letter has quietly appeared. It carries no loud announcement, no dramatic arrival, only the quiet certainty that it was written with sincerity. The remarkable part is not how it appeared, but why it seems to have reached you now. If you stay until the end, you may notice that every sentence feels strangely familiar, as though it has been waiting inside your own heart long before these words were spoken. There are moments in life when people speak with confidence, and there are moments when silence says far more than language ever could. This letter was born inside one of those silent moments. Your soulmate did not begin writing because they had perfect answers. They began because one thought refused to leave their heart. They wondered whether someone could feel connected across distance without hearing a single spoken word. They wondered whether kindness could travel farther than time. And as that thought remained, another followed. Then another. Before they even realized it, an entire page had become filled with emotions they had never allowed themselves to express before. Every line carried honesty instead of perfection, hope instead of certainty, and warmth instead of fear. Look a little closer in your imagination. The page is simple. No elaborate decorations. No extraordinary colors. Yet somehow it feels more valuable than anything polished or expensive. Why? Because every sentence carries the weight of a feeling that was protected for far too long. Some people hide their strongest emotions because they believe the right moment has not yet arrived. Others wait because they hope destiny will create the perfect opportunity. But this letter suggests something different. It suggests that meaningful words become timeless the moment they are spoken with sincerity. Don't skip. The next part matters more than the last. If this story found you today, perhaps it is reminding you of something you already know deep within yourself. Think back to a moment when someone remembered a small detail about you that everyone else had forgotten. Maybe it was your laughter. Maybe it was your patience. Maybe it was the quiet way you encouraged others without expecting recognition. Those tiny moments often leave the deepest impressions. Your soulmate's letter begins not with grand promises, but with one simple realization: I noticed the goodness you never asked anyone to notice. That single thought became the beginning of everything else. As the words continue, the letter slows down, almost as though it does not want to rush past anything important. It speaks about ordinary moments that suddenly became unforgettable. A sunrise that reminded them of hope. A quiet evening that somehow carried your presence without explanation. A song that seemed incomplete until they imagined someone sharing it with them. Nothing dramatic happened. Yet everything quietly changed. Isn't it fascinating how life often transforms through the smallest moments instead of the loudest ones? Stay till the end, because the letter has not yet reached its most meaningful page. There is something extraordinary about a message that does not try to impress. Instead, it simply tells the truth. The writer admits they spent too much time believing that meaningful connections had to arrive in spectacular ways. Then one ordinary day changed everything. They realize the heart often recognizes someone long before the mind understands why. Since that day, every ordinary moment has carried a quiet expectation that someday, somehow, paths would cross in exactly the right season. Now imagine turning another page. The handwriting becomes steadier, as though every sentence gives the writer more courage than the one before it. They begin speaking directly, not demanding, not expecting, only hoping. If these words ever find you, they write, I hope they remind you that you were always worthy of being appreciated exactly as you are. You never needed to become someone else for your story to matter. Read those words slowly. Let them settle. Sometimes the most powerful message is simply being reminded that your value has never depended on applause. The letter continues with quiet wonder. It speaks about how people often search everywhere for extraordinary signs while overlooking the beautiful evidence already surrounding them. A familiar smile. A peaceful conversation. A feeling of calm arriving without explanation. The writer confesses that they almost missed these moments because they expected something louder. Then one simple realization changed everything. Perhaps genuine connection does not arrive like thunder. Perhaps it arrives like morning light, gentle enough that only an attentive heart notices it. Something important is waiting for you, and it is hidden between these lines rather than written directly upon them. Every meaningful story has one page that changes the way every previous page is understood. This letter is approaching that page now. Yet before it arrives, the writer pauses. Almost as though they are deciding whether to reveal the one truth they protected the longest. The ink slows. The sentences grow quieter. The silence itself begins speaking. What could possibly be written there? Why does it feel as though the next line carries more meaning than everything before it? And why does it seem that the letter, which was said to disappear in 5 minutes, has somehow chosen to remain just long enough for one final page to be discovered? The answer has not yet been unfolded. And when the next page opens, the words waiting there may change the meaning of everything you have heard so far. The silence between one heartbeat and the next often carries more meaning than an entire conversation, and this is exactly where the hidden letter chooses to continue. Don't skip, because the page you are about to discover was never meant to be rushed. Every word seems to appear only when your attention becomes quiet enough to notice it. The ink almost glows with a gentle warmth, not because it is magical, but because sincere feelings always seem brighter than ordinary words. It is as though your soulmate paused countless times before writing this page, hoping every sentence would feel honest enough to remain meaningful no matter when it was finally read. The first new line is surprisingly simple. I never wanted to write the perfect letter. I only wanted to write the truest one. Those few words seem almost effortless, yet they carry the weight of every unsent thought that came before them. Sometimes people spend so much time searching for flawless expressions that they never share what truly matters. This letter chose a different path. It chose authenticity over perfection, and because of that, every sentence feels wonderfully alive. Stay till the end, because the next realization arrives quietly. The writer begins remembering moments that seem ordinary at first. A peaceful afternoon. A passing smile. A brief feeling that someone, somewhere, understood them without explanation. None of these moments lasted very long, yet each one remained unforgettable. They slowly became tiny pieces of a much larger picture. Looking back now, the writer realizes those moments were not random interruptions. They were gentle reminders that meaningful connections are often built from countless quiet memories rather than one dramatic event. Another sentence appears as though it has been waiting patiently all along. I hope you never underestimate the calm strength inside you. The words linger for a moment before continuing. You may not even notice how many lives become brighter because you choose kindness when no one is watching. There is no exaggeration in these lines, only gratitude. The writer admires qualities that cannot be measured by appearance or success. They admire patience, compassion, resilience, and the quiet courage to keep believing that tomorrow can still become something beautiful. Don't skip, because the letter is slowly revealing why it could not remain hidden forever. Every page seems to answer one question while creating another. Why did these words wait until now? Why did they remain unfinished for so long? The answer begins unfolding naturally. The writer explains that some messages need time to mature before they can truly be understood. Feelings written too early often reflect uncertainty. Feelings written after reflection carry peace. This letter belongs to the second kind. It was never delayed by hesitation alone. It was shaped by growth, understanding, and quiet hope. As another paragraph comes into view, the tone becomes even more personal. If I could leave one reminder beside your heart, the letter says, it would simply be this: never believe that your story has already reached its best chapter. The words settle gently, allowing their meaning to grow naturally. Every new morning holds possibilities that yesterday could not imagine. Every unexpected meeting begins as an ordinary moment. Every lasting connection begins with one sincere decision to remain open to kindness. Something important is waiting for you, and the letter seems to know exactly when to slow down again. Instead of revealing everything, it invites reflection. Think about the moments you almost overlooked because they seemed too ordinary. Think about the conversations that unexpectedly stayed with you. Think about the peaceful feeling that sometimes appears without needing an explanation. What if those quiet moments deserve more attention than the loud ones? What if they have been gently preparing your heart for something meaningful all along? The handwriting becomes softer, almost as though the writer is smiling while finishing another page. Whenever you doubt your worth, they write, remember that genuine affection is never built upon perfection. It grows through honesty, patience, understanding, and the willingness to remain kind even when life becomes uncertain. Those words do not ask for anything in return. They simply remain there, steady and reassuring, like a light left in the window for someone finding their way home. One final sentence appears before the page reaches its edge. It is shorter than every line before it, yet somehow it feels the most significant. There is still one truth I have not shared. The letter pauses again. Not because the story is ending, but because the next page contains the one sentence the writer spent the longest time finding the courage to write. And once those words appear, nothing in the letter will ever feel quite the same again. Not every revelation arrives with noise. Some arrive so quietly that the heart recognizes them before the mind does. This is one of those moments. Don't skip, because the page that has just unfolded feels different from every page before it. The handwriting is calmer now, steadier, as though the writer has finally stopped wondering whether these words should be hidden. They have accepted that some feelings become lighter the moment they are shared. The letter seems to breathe for a moment before another sentence slowly appears, one line at a time, as if it refuses to rush something so meaningful. I kept searching for the perfect time to tell you how deeply your existence has inspired me. Then I realized that perfect moments are often created simply by choosing honesty. The words linger gently, inviting reflection instead of demanding attention. There is no dramatic confession here, only a quiet truth that has grown stronger with every passing day. The writer explains that what first caught their attention was never something extraordinary. It was the peaceful way they imagined your presence. Somehow, whenever life felt uncertain, the thought of someone with your heart brought a sense of calm they could never fully explain. Stay till the end, because the next part of the letter feels almost like a conversation rather than a message. You may never realize how often I smiled because of a hope connected to you, the writer continues. There were days when everything seemed ordinary until one simple thought crossed my mind. What if, somewhere, our stories are slowly moving toward the same destination? It was never about certainty. It was about believing that meaningful connections grow naturally, even before they are fully understood. The page becomes even more personal. The writer remembers quiet dreams that no one else ever knew existed. Not dreams of grand celebrations or unforgettable moments, but simple ones. Sharing peaceful mornings. Laughing over small misunderstandings. Encouraging each other after difficult days. Watching ordinary sunsets become unforgettable simply because they were experienced together. Suddenly, the listener realizes that the most beautiful visions are often built from life's smallest details. Something important is waiting for you, and it is hidden inside the simplest sentence on the page. I never wished for someone perfect. I quietly hoped for someone genuine. Those words seem to echo long after they are read. Genuine kindness. Genuine patience. Genuine understanding. These are the qualities the writer treasures above everything else. They believe that lasting affection grows strongest where people feel accepted rather than judged, understood rather than compared. Another pause arrives, but this one feels warm rather than uncertain. The ink continues flowing with quiet confidence. If these words have reached you today, then perhaps they arrived exactly when they needed to. Not because life suddenly became complete, but because hope often arrives before answers do. There is comfort in that thought. Every meaningful journey begins long before anyone realizes they have already taken the first step. Don't skip. Because the heart of the letter is finally beginning to reveal itself. The writer admits there was one sentence they erased again and again. Every time they wrote it, they wondered whether it sounded too vulnerable. Every time they removed it, they felt as though the most important truth had disappeared with it. Eventually, they understood that honesty is always worth the risk of being seen. So they picked up the pen one final time and allowed the sentence to remain exactly as it was. If I could leave one lasting gift for you, the letter says, it would be the confidence to believe that you deserve a connection built on respect, peace, laughter, and unwavering kindness. There is no expectation hidden behind those words. Only sincere hope that your future is filled with moments that remind you of your own worth. The writer believes that the right connection never asks you to become someone else. Instead, it gently encourages the very best parts of you to grow naturally. The page seems almost complete, but then one final paragraph quietly appears, as though it had been invisible until now. There is something I have carried in silence for longer than I care to admit. Every chapter of this letter has been leading toward one simple truth. Yet before I write it, I need you to understand that these words are not meant to rush your heart. They are simply meant to find it. The handwriting slows. The final line begins. I think the reason this letter found you. The sentence stops. Not because it was unfinished, but because the next page holds the only words the writer believed should never be separated from the moment they were truly ready to be read. Sometimes the most unforgettable sentence is not the one that is spoken first, but the one that patiently waits until every other word has prepared your heart to receive it. This is that moment. Don't skip. Because the page before you feels as though it has been waiting quietly for a very long time. The paper is almost full now, yet the space that remains seems more meaningful than everything already written. It is where the writer finally allows silence to become courage. The unfinished sentence slowly comes back into view, exactly where it stopped. I think the reason this letter found you. There is a pause, gentle enough to let every previous page settle. Then, with calm certainty, the next words appear. Is because some connections are discovered twice. First by the heart, and only later by life. Nothing dramatic follows. No overwhelming declaration. Just a truth so simple that it quietly changes the meaning of every page before it. The writer is not asking you to believe in impossible things. They are simply sharing the realization that some people begin to matter long before they fully understand why. Stay till the end. Because another layer of the letter is beginning to unfold. The writer remembers a season when everything felt uncertain. Plans changed. Days passed quietly. Questions remained unanswered. Yet through all of it, one gentle hope refused to disappear. Whenever I imagine the future, they write, there was always a place where your kindness seemed to belong. They never forced that thought. They never chased it. It simply returned, again and again, like the familiar warmth of morning sunlight finding the same window each day. The page continues with memories that never happened in extraordinary places. They happened in imagination, where the simplest moments became the most precious. Walking without needing to fill every silence with conversation. Sharing a smile that explained everything words could not. Sitting together while the world hurried past, feeling no need to compete with its noise. Those quiet dreams became reminders that the greatest happiness is often found inside ordinary moments shared with the right person. Something important is waiting for you, and it arrives hidden inside another sentence that almost feels too gentle to notice. I hope our paths never become rushed by expectations. I hope they are guided by patience, understanding, and perfect timing. The writer believes that meaningful relationships are not measured by speed. They are measured by how naturally two lives begin to bring peace into one another. There is wisdom in allowing beautiful things to unfold without forcing every answer before its season arrives. As the letter moves forward, the handwriting becomes softer once again. There were evenings when I almost convinced myself these words should remain unwritten, the writer admits. Then I realized that gratitude should never remain silent. Gratitude for the hope you inspired. Gratitude for the possibility of a future that felt brighter simply because it existed in imagination. Gratitude for becoming a reason to believe that kindness still matters in a world that often moves too quickly to notice it. Don't skip, because the next paragraph carries the warmth of a quiet promise. If life ever gives us the chance to share even one peaceful conversation, the writer says, I hope you never feel the need to impress me. Come exactly as you are. Bring your laughter, your dreams, your questions, your quiet moments. Those are the things I have always hoped to know. There is something deeply comforting about being welcomed without conditions. It reminds us that genuine affection begins with acceptance long before it becomes anything else. The letter pauses again, almost as though it is listening for your heartbeat before continuing. Every previous page has spoken about hope, patience, gratitude, and sincerity. But there is still one page the writer has carefully protected from the beginning. They describe it as the page that was folded separately from all the others. The page they believed should only be opened when every earlier word had been understood. It is not longer than the rest. In fact, it is surprisingly short. Yet they believe it carries the greatest meaning of all. The final lines on this page begin to shimmer with quiet anticipation. When you unfold the last page, the writer whispers through the ink, you will finally understand why this letter could never be rushed, why every pause mattered, and why I believe these final words deserve to arrive only after your heart had walked beside mine through every page. The paper gently turns by itself. A small folded note slips from between the pages. Only 3 handwritten lines are visible. And the very first line begins with the words the writer has been waiting to share since the moment this letter was first imagined. A single folded note rests quietly between the final pages, almost as though it has been waiting for this exact moment all along. It is smaller than every page before it, yet somehow it feels heavier with meaning. Don't skip, because what is written here was never intended to be read too quickly. The writer unfolds it with gentle care, leaving just enough silence for every previous word to settle before the first line finally reveals itself. I hope this letter never becomes something you simply read. I hope it becomes something you remember whenever life reminds you that genuine kindness still exists. The sentence is simple, but it carries the warmth of every page that came before it. There is no urgency, no demand, only a quiet wish that these words continue living long after the paper itself has faded. Some messages are important because of what they say. Others become unforgettable because of how they make you feel. This letter quietly chooses the second path. Stay till the end, because the next line feels as though it has been protected from the beginning. The handwriting grows slightly slower, almost smiling through every carefully formed letter. If our stories are ever meant to meet, I hope they begin with peace. Not excitement alone. Not perfect timing alone. Peace. The kind of peace that allows two people to speak honestly without pretending to be anyone else. The kind of peace that makes ordinary conversations feel extraordinary simply because they are shared with sincerity. The writer pauses again before continuing. I have imagined many possible futures, but the one I treasure most has never depended on grand moments. It begins with a greeting, grows through understanding, and becomes beautiful through countless small acts of kindness. Those words seem to linger in the air, inviting reflection rather than rushing forward. Suddenly, every earlier page feels connected. Every quiet memory, every hopeful sentence, every patient pause has been leading toward this gentle realization that lasting affection is built one ordinary moment at a time. Something important is waiting for you. And now it begins to appear between the lines instead of directly upon them. The writer explains that the greatest lesson this letter ever taught them was unexpected. They thought love was about finding someone extraordinary. Instead, they discovered that the most extraordinary feeling is finding someone who makes ordinary life feel meaningful. Morning conversations. Shared laughter. Comfortable silence. Encouraging words after difficult days. These are the treasures they now value above everything else. The note continues with another heartfelt reflection. If you ever wonder whether your presence matters, remember this: every sincere smile you offer, every patient word you choose, every quiet act of compassion creates a story larger than you can see. The writer believes that people rarely understand how deeply their goodness touches the lives around them. Sometimes the greatest influence comes from moments that receive no applause at all. Those unnoticed moments often become the memories others carry forever. Don't skip, because the final page is closer than it has ever been. Before reaching it, the writer chooses to leave one last reminder. Never rush the chapters that are still being written. Some of life's most meaningful pages appear only after seasons of waiting, learning, and growing. There is comfort in that thought. Every chapter has its own purpose. Every pause has its own wisdom. Even the quiet moments are preparing something beautiful that cannot be hurried. The folded note ends with a sentence unlike any other in the letter. No matter where life leads you, I hope you never lose the gentle parts of your heart. They are rarer than you know, and they are exactly what first inspired these words. It feels less like a farewell and more like a promise that kindness always leaves traces wherever it goes. The paper begins to grow lighter. The edges slowly fade, just as the letter quietly promised they would. Only one page remains untouched. It is the page that was never meant to disappear. The writer left it blank. Except for one handwritten sentence waiting in the very center. A sentence that explains why this letter was always destined to find you before it vanished forever.